Thanks to the IGDA for having me here. Thanks to our general counsel, Suzanne, for pushing me into this. Oh, and Siri wants me to, is recording everything I say right now, but very, very badly because apparently I've got the voice activated feature on. That's awful. Nice. Okay, well let's, who knows about Take This? Just raise your hand if you know who we are. You, not you. She works for us. Okay, so a couple of you. So Take This is, we are a nonprofit that was founded in 2012 in the wake of our three founders' friend sadly committing suicide. We're a mental health nonprofit. Our whole mission is to inform people about mental health concerns, destigmatize mental health concerns, and to educate people on the prevention of mental health concerns. Now, our most visible outreach effort is the AFK Room, the Away from Keyboard Room, that began at PAX East in 2014. We now run it at all of the PAX locations worldwide. I have been told repeatedly by my wife in the back row that we will be going to PAX Australia, for sure. But it's a chill out room. I mean, we've all been to conventions, we all know how overstimulating they can be, and it's a room for people just to go and just chill, regain your calm. It's staffed by mental health professionals who aren't there to therapize you, who are just there to talk, okay? Because we got a lot of people coming in, cons are overwhelming. People get, nerds have social anxiety, did you know that? Oh my God, I'm absolutely not one of them. So people come in, they've got anxiety, they're overwhelmed, they just need a place to chill, regain, charge their cell phone, nap, get a drink of water. And that's what we do. But we're also doing that at places like E3, MomoCon this year in Atlanta. I think we're gonna be at 12 locations next year. We've also got educational outreach efforts with places like Geek and Sundry. Actually, my latest article just went up last night. GameStop, IGN, Habitica, great app if you haven't downloaded it. It's a wonderful to-do list. Wormwood Gaming, all sorts of places. But we also, in the upcoming future, we're gonna be providing consultation and educational services to gaming studios who wanna optimize their mental health policies. Because it's not at all stressful working in a gaming studio, which is why I'm here. So, this is what we're gonna do. Basically, what I want you all to go out of here with an understanding of is what's the difference between normal stress and a mental illness, okay? I want you to have a really, really clear understanding about that because there is a significant difference, and I think we do a fantastic job of blurring those lines and pathologizing normal experiences in America. We also do a great job of shunning people who have mental illness, so it's kind of a catch-22. We also are going to talk very briefly about some of the specific research into the effects of a studio environment. Okay, now, who works in a studio in here? Okay, so about half the room. All right, so you are fairly familiar with crunch. For those of you who are not familiar with crunch, we're going to talk about it and specifically what some of the effects are. We're also going to talk in more detail about just self-care tips that you can have, how to keep yourself healthy, and ways of reaching out to people who might be in distress, because that's a question we get at Take This all the time. How do I help a friend? All right. What do you guys think? Is there such thing as normal? Yeah, all of you who said no would be wrong. There is absolutely such thing as normal, but it's not probably what you think it is. And so this image, I'm going to put a disclaimer, this image was not chosen to represent some whitewashed cis heteronormative version of America. This is just me trying to represent that normal is not a concept that most people have correctly in their head. Normal is a statistical term. That's all it is, all right? That's it. There's no value attached to it, there's no judgment attached to it, it's just a statistical term. All it means is 2/3 of people basically doing what you expect, all right? It's a very narrow statistical term that shifts depending on what you're looking at. So what is normal for me growing up in the Pacific Northwest, my wife and I talk about this all the time. What was normal for me growing up in Seattle was not normal for her growing up in Chicago, okay? There's just different expectations. That's fine. What 2/3 of people do in Seattle is shun you, because we're very passive aggressive. We are the champions of it. Very insular. Whereas that just doesn't happen here. When people didn't show up to the first party I threw when we started dating, she was like, oh, that's rude of them. And I'm like, what's rude of who? You invited 300 people. I know. Only 30 showed up. I know. Why? Because that's what we do. That wasn't normal to her. To me, that's what's to be expected, because again, we're passive aggressive. But one of the biggest assumptions that I think people have about the term normal is they use it synonymously with acceptable or good. That's a problem, okay? Because there is no value attached to normal. Somebody just give me an example of something that is not normal, but it's okay.
Pokemon Go.
What was that?
Those are interchangeable.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go. Okay, so hold on. Quick poll. Who here plays that game? Oh man, I totally thought I was gonna get 2/3 out of this. Okay, so technically, you are correct. I thought totally. Okay, who's on the correct team? Notice I didn't say which one. I want to call the rest of you out. Team Valor. Woo!
Yeah.
Must start a fight. But it's just, okay, what about Stephen Hawking's IQ? Is that normal?
Oh yeah.
It is? So let me show you what normal is, okay? This is the average, all right? This is the normal range, okay? If we're doing an IQ test on by the way, IQ is a really bad thing it's very useful for what it's useful for. Trust me, I use it, but it's misleading. Right about here, on the most commonly used test of IQ, you're looking at 115. Stephen Hawking's way the hell over here. So are you gonna tell me Stephen Hawking's IQ is normal? No. Is it bad? No. How many people in this room have gone to grad school? Oh crap, more than I expected. All right, that's not normal. Right? But it's not it's bad while you're in it, but it's bad while you're there. It's bad when you're trying to pay for it afterwards, but those are not bad things. Is making a blockbuster game like Skyrim normal? Do 2/3 of games hit that status? Is it bad? No, it's great. Skyrim's awesome. So I want everybody to have just an idea that normal's not bad. It's just or good. It's just a statistical term that shifts depending on what you're looking at. All right. So how does this apply to us? Okay. Good, you're geeks. I love this. There will be more of these. Referential humor abounds. We all have stress reactions. All right. Somebody give me an example. What do you think of when you think of a stress reaction?
Someone cutting you off.
That's your stress reaction?
Well, me getting angry.
Okay,
And yelling
anger.
From the cut off.
Anger, yelling. Somebody else give me another one.
I eat when I'm stressed.
You eat. Okay, good. Love Eric, you and I are gonna get along. Somebody else give me, what's your reaction when you get stressed?
Go for a run.
Go for a run, you exercise? Okay, so these are some reactions. Anybody sleep a little less? I get all wound up. I have a hard time falling asleep. Some people sleep more when they're stressed. Some people get irritable. Our counseling student gets irritable. Warning. Some people isolate. I need to be alone. Some people isolate. Some people have problems concentrating. Anybody here have a problem concentrating when you're stressed? Yeah, okay. Lack of exercise for some people. Some people do comfort eating. Some people do distracting or avoiding behaviors. Video games is a really common one in the kids I work with. Now let me actually say a word or two about distraction and avoidance behaviors. There's actually an important psychological distinction, even though it might be the same behavior, all right? A distraction behavior is used when a person believes, I can deal with it, just not right now. An avoidance behavior is used when someone believes, I can't handle it. And it might be the same behavior, it's just the cognition that's different. One is healthy, one is not. Guess which one? We don't want avoidance, because actually with avoidance behaviors, the anxieties get worse over time. It's a wonderful thing how that works, whereas when you expose yourself to it, it gets lower. All right, now I want to talk to you about this. Everyone has a breaking point. Everyone, I don't care who you are. Now some people are more resilient than others, but everybody has a breaking point. In humanity, we are simultaneously very, very resilient and very, very fragile, depending on how you want to look at it. Now this is particularly significant. There will be a test. The term is the diathesis stress model. I expect you all to remember that. What it means is that, is it genetics or is it environment? And the answer is yes, it's both. We are all born with a certain genetic predisposition for certain vulnerabilities. Our glass is filled up however far it is. Some people's glasses are filled more, some people are filled less, but environmental stressors can make that glass overflow. Everyone has a breaking point. Now I say this because I want everybody to have, compassion that somebody has hit their breaking point. How many of you have heard, well, if they would ever just if they would just get their shit together, by the way, any kids here, because I will swear. Aw, corrupt little minds. How many of you heard that? Well, just pull yourself together, pull yourself up. Why can't you fix this? Has anybody said that? Has anybody heard that? I've certainly heard it enough times. It's not a very compassionate response, and that's one of the things I want everybody to foster, is more compassion, because everybody has their breaking point. Now, these are all observable behaviors. That's an important thing for later. So, common maladaptive pattern. We have a stressful event. We have a maladaptive stress response, which gives us increased vulnerability to stress, which ends up becoming a wonderful feedback loop. People like me get called in to try and turn this maladaptive stress response into something that is more adaptive to help bolster resilience, but even that can only go so far, because everybody has a breaking point. So, mental illness, pretty common, okay? One of the statistics that's usually talked about is 1 in 4 people will have a mental illness in a given year. One of the things one of our founders likes to say is the only thing that is more common than that is being male or female. It's pretty true. So, it's not uncommon to have a mental illness. Now, the statistic I use is that in 2014, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, nearly 20% of Americans were diagnosed with at least one mental illness in 2014. 1 out of 5 is still pretty darn significant. Now, one of the things that I should include with that is that statistic does not include substance abuse disorders. It also does not include autism spectrum disorders or intellectual disabilities. So if you throw in spectrum disorders, which is about a 1 in 68 diagnosis rate, 1 in 42 in boys, it goes up. The most common types of mental illnesses you are going to encounter in people are anxiety disorders and mood disorders. Now, anxiety disorders are more prevalent because, well, there's more of them. Based on the criteria that they listed, they were using in 2014, this included things like generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorders, agoraphobia, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, specific phobias, social anxiety disorder, did I say that one? Probably, all right. All of those go in the category of anxiety disorders. If you look at it, nearly a 1 in 3 prevalence rate over the course of a lifetime. 1 in 3 people in this room will have one during their life. Okay? Pretty common. Mood disorders, that includes depression. That includes bipolar disorder, all of them. There are multiple, in case you didn't know. Cyclothymic disorder, any stuff like that. Part of the difficulty in diagnosing mental illness is that there's a lot of symptom overlap. I have diagnosed ADHD in an adult once. Why do you guys suspect that is? Any takers? Yes.
Because it's becoming more and more common that we multitask on multiple screens and
No.
cool.
That is a great answer. I would have never thought of that answer, but that's not the reason I've only diagnosed it once. Yes.
Maybe kids just don't, I don't know. Kids.
I said adults.
Oh,
I don't work with kids. I love kids, I just don't work with them. Teens and young adults, that's 16 to 25, it's great. I actually trained in a prison, and I found out that when I got out my training, the working with felons is a lot like working with teens, and no parents ever disagreed. So, but yeah, so almost everybody in here I bet knows somebody who has depression or anxiety. When they're suffering from it, can they focus? You name one diagnosis in the DSM, the Bible of diagnosis, and almost all of them affect attention. Almost every single one. There is so much symptom overlap that it's ridiculous, which is the reason I've only diagnosed ADHD once. It exists. I just usually found a better reason for the fact that they couldn't concentrate. They were depressed, they had PTSD, they had social anxiety. When they went out amongst lots of people, they couldn't focus because they were nervous. Okay, they had performance anxiety at work. These are all good reasons. So there's a lot of symptom overlap, and that's something we want to talk about. But I love this guy. I love you guys. Oh God, if you ever want to see me twitch, tell me that. We all have a little mental illness. That is so crap. All right? That is such crap masquerading as a compassionate statement. Why is that crap? Well, because on the surface that might seem like a compassionate statement, but if you think about it a little bit more, that puts real mental illness in the same category as normal stress and really stigmatizes the people who are legitimately suffering from mental illness by making it seem more common than it is. And it really undermines the seriousness and the impact of mental illness. It's like you're saying to that person, okay, we've all got mental illness, what's your problem? Yeah, don't say that. Just don't. We all deal with challenges. We don't all deal with mental illness. And just because, it doesn't have to be mental illness to be a problem. If it's a problem, it's a problem. It's that simple. But, that being said, if it is a mental illness, it has to be a serious problem. There is no mental illness diagnosis that is not a serious problem. Even something like mild major depressive disorder is a significant thing because it interferes with your life. Now here's where we tell the difference. 4 Ds, all right? Mental illness is always of such significance that it causes distress and dysfunction. You cannot live your life normally. And what I mean by that is going to work is so hard if you can do it at all. Having relationships is so hard if you can do it at all. Okay? It's causing you or those around you distress. There are some mental illnesses that doesn't cause the person distress. There was somebody I worked with in the prison who told me he was the executive of a major music publishing company, and Prince was at his beck and call, and he was great. He's fine. He was just in prison to evade the IRS. Yeah, he was fine. No distress there. But it caused a lot of people around him distress. And it was certainly dysfunctional. He could not function. But it's also deviant. It's not normal. Mental illness behaviors are really not normal. they're not what you expect from people in 2 out of 3 situations. They're not the responses you expect. And they often cause a danger to self or others. People who are impaired while driving, people who are suicidal. I mean, that's pretty dangerous to self or others. But in and of themselves, none of these are a problem. There are people who have dysfunctional behaviors all the time. Richard Branson. No, excuse me, wrong. Not dysfunctional, deviant. Oh man, hope he doesn't see this. He has deviant behaviors. Everyone we call a pioneer has deviant behaviors. They do things differently. That's okay. Marie Curie was a deviant. Galileo was a deviant. Got locked up for it too. Marie Curie was also a little dangerous because she didn't know about radiation. But they were not mentally ill, okay? We need to look at all of these for it to be a mental illness. Okay, so let's get done with the technical stuff. What does this mean for folks in the studio? Well, we go and talk about crunch, all right? We are definitely gonna talk about crunch. For those of you who don't work in a gaming studio, crunch is, well, crunch time. It's where you work more than a typical 40 hours during the week. And a 2015 developer satisfaction survey that was done by the IGDA found that 62% of game developers reported that their jobs involved crunch. Half of those people worked more than 60 hours per week routinely. 17% worked more than 70 hours per week. Name an industry where that happens and people aren't compensated other than this. Even actors have a union, okay? Actors have SAG-AFTRA, excuse me, and they're compensated for overtime. It's kind of an anomaly in the games industry, all right? And it's here, all right? So how much do you think a plumber would charge you if you told them that you need them to work 80 hours a week?
$30 an hour.
How much was it?
$30 an hour.
Oh, where's your plumber?
Time and a
Last
half.
time I had to call when it was like 60.
Time and a half during the week and double time on the weekend.
Right, exactly. Because you ain't doing all 80 hours in a 5-day work week. I mean, that's just not gonna happen. And so, you know, this is a really unique problem in the games industry, and it's accepted as status quo by most employees and managers. And it is a major contributing factor to the fact that game developers have an average shelf life for their career of 5 years. There's a reason you just don't see many people over 28 or 29 in the games industry. I have a friend who went out of the games industry for about 4 years to go to school. He was 32 when he tried to get back in. Just couldn't, he was old. He was out of touch, he was old, it wouldn't take him in. And he had a family, and that's another thing. Developers with families often can't put in these kind of hours because their priorities are appropriately elsewhere. They want to raise their children, as you do. I was recently talking to a former game developer who left the industry not too long ago, and his perspective was that crunch is a failure of management. Crunch is a failure of management to properly budget time and resources, and maybe even promise too much too quickly to make shareholders happy in the case of major studios. So there are definite effects to crunch. Software quality is lowered, okay? Well, in hardware too. Software defects were significantly higher in projects that required overtime compared to those that did not. Game developers also reported that high rates of crunch on projects also reported decreased returns on investments and a lower Metacritic score. Does this sound like it's a working thing here? We'll get them to work hard, it'll be a great product. Nope. Doesn't work that way, apparently. Although I have some contacts at one company that are going to get me some research that says it works for 2 weeks, and then it's also an increased cost per employee. Do we have any managers here? Man, I was hoping I was going to tell some managers this. Okay, so the increased cost for employees is that productivity costs related to fatigue were nearly $2,000 per employee per year. And productivity losses related to personal and family health problems, another $1,700 for a total of $225 billion nationwide in losses. That's a lot. That is a lot. I would love to have that kind of money. In the United States alone, depression cost US employers $44 billion. This is not a sound financial choice, all right? This is, additionally, presenteeism, who has ever worked through being sick? Yeah, raise your hand, almost everybody's done it. It's the beauty of being a solo practitioner. Like, I'm sick. I've got the black lung. I don't have to show up, but productivity losses in terms of costs were actually 7.5 times higher in those who worked through being sick. So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Sorry. Yeah, so presenteeism, you're actually way less productive than if you actually stayed home. We'll talk about that. All right, let's just talk about the mental illness. Sleep problems. Employees who worked more than 55 hours a week compared to those who worked a regular, normal work week of up to 40 hours are 2 times more likely to experience sleep problems and 3.7 times more likely to find it just difficult to fall asleep. The 2 times as short as sleep hours, excuse me. And they're also twice as likely to wake up without feeling refreshed. You need that. Sleep is restorative, and you're not getting it if you're overstressed. And repeated exposure increases the likelihood of not being able to sleep. And people who worked 11+ hour days are 2.5 times more likely to experience an episode of major depressive disorder. That's huge, huge, huge. People who identified as workaholics found have higher rates of OCD / perfectionism. They often go hand in hand, it's amazing. ADHD, depression when compared to those who weren't self-reporting as workaholics. Let's see, go. I can bore you guys later. Depression. Yeah. Yeah, that's another one. Greater risk of heart attack and stroke. I mean, just overwork is not a good thing at all. Let's see here. Yeah. You pay less attention, you're more likely to get hurt. Yeah, that's another thing. You just can't focus. If you're stressed out, you can't focus, and the product's just not as good. Just not as good. I'm sorry managers aren't here because, man, I was proud of that pun. Managers are the gatekeepers. Okay, 2 people got it. That helps me out here. Those of you who don't, go watch the original Ghostbusters. One of the things we hear take this all the time is, but what do I do? My manager's not supportive. This is why I was really hoping managers were going to be here, because there is a power differential within the workplace relationship, and as an employee, there is only so much you can do without macroscopic changes, without your managers being on board. So we're going to talk about things that you can do to help bolster your own self-care. But managers set the behavior. They set the tone. Incidentally, that would be me as a supervillain. This has been long established. I would be Hank Scorpio. The people who have the social power set the rules, all right? And so managers set the tone. Managers need to watch their language because it can be very, anyway, yeah. I'll skip past this section because we don't really have managers here. We definitely don't want to skip that. One of the things we see in certain companies is they incentivize hours worked instead of the product. And we want to incentivize efficiency over the products worked. Incentivize work-life balance. You get better employees and better products. That is so true. Okay, so let's talk about self-care. Great. Things you want to do with self-care. You want to set some goals. You want to make some environmental changes. You want to sleep. You want to turn off the screens. And maybe think about therapy. Okay, I'll talk about that a little bit more because therapy's not what most people think. setting goals, make them specific and measurable. I want to be healthier. What's the problem with this?
It's vague.
So,
Vague.
okay, why is it vague?
There's nothing specific about it, and it's not something
And-
that you can objectively work towards.
Okay, so you can't objectively work towards it. Yeah, what is healthier? What does that mean to you? So we want it to be measurable and really specific so we can track it. I want to do at least a 30-minute workout 3 or more times per week. That is I did it or I don't. Great thing to track. I want my soda intake to be limited to 20 ounces per week or less. Great, we can track that. That's very specific, that's very measurable. And the beauty part about this is if you're running into problems doing it, you can troubleshoot those problems. If you're not healthier for whatever that means, we can't really troubleshoot that. No more than 16 ounces or red meat a week, cool, all right. I love wearables. I absolutely love wearables. I'm gonna plug the Microsoft Band 2 right now. This thing has been awesome. It measures my heart rate. It tells me when I'm sleeping. It's creepy. It knows me when I'm sleeping. And it tells me how well I'm sleeping. Probably not too accurate, but it's a good benchmark for me. It keeps track of how much I'm exercising. These are great when I have specific goals I want to do, like maybe I want to hit the gym 3 times a week. That's wonderful. There we go. There's other things like Habitica or Superbetter. They're great apps for tracking tasks that you've done. Habitica is actually a partner of Take This. We do some mental health challenges on their app. It's a great app. I love that one. And it actually gamifies your tasks and your to-do lists in a way. There are other programs that are written by shrinks and they look like they're written by shrinks. They're horrible. They're not fun. Habitica is an RPG. My character is currently level 22. It's awesome. But if you have specific goals, you can celebrate your improvements, okay? You can actually, you either did them or you didn't. If you did 2 times a week, great. That may not be your total goal, but that's more than you did. You weren't going at all. And you can celebrate that. That's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And you want to look at progress. Don't expect instant success all the time, every time. We're expecting some failures. So you want to look for progress over time, and you want to look for a trend of improvement. It's going to be kind of wavy, but we want those waves to go up. All right? Lapses are not relapses. You will fail. You're going to run into that. If you have a specific measurable goal for your self-care, then you're going to be able to, again, troubleshoot that, okay? So if you have this mentality of progress and that you will slip up, but you will also get better, excellent, excellent. Don't do this. Don't minimize. Minimize is one of those terms that shrinks throw around a lot. And what it means basically is you're rationalizing away your successes. Yeah, I may have done that, but I also did this. Yeah, I may have gone to the gym twice this week, but I also ate 2 pounds of steak for dinner. Yeah, I may have gotten 12 hours of sleep last night, but that's because I was playing Minecraft all night the night before. If you find yourself saying, yeah, but, good chance you're minimizing. All right? Don't do that. Yes, and. I did this, and I can do it better. Another thing you can do is you make environmental changes around the house, okay, apartment, wherever you live, make some changes, okay? Do one thing at a time. Somebody mentioned multitasking as something that is a demand of the modern world, and that's true. The reality is, even those of us who are good at multitasking cannot do those tasks as well as if we were devoting all of our attention to them. Okay? You want to do the best job you can, do one thing at a time. If you're going to do something else, stop that thing and give all of your attention to another thing. Since the 1980s, there's actually been a really impressive influx of Zen philosophy in psychology research, and it's been fairly effective for the most part. Hence, aside from the fact that all my D&D characters are monks, so when you're at work, be at work. When you're at home, don't be at work. I know that's hard for a lot of us. It's hard for a lot of us, but so try not to answer emails at home. If it's the weekend, let it be the freaking weekend, okay? Last person that got angry at me because I didn't answer their email over the weekend, it wasn't an important email. It just wasn't. You didn't get back to me till Monday. Yeah. Well, why not? Because it was the weekend. You don't work on the weekends? No. What were you doing? Having fun. What were you doing? You were working. My God. So don't routinely answer emails from your phone. If everything is an emergency, that is an organizational problem. All right? Not everything needs to be taken care of right now. If you're going to work at home, limit it to a specified area, okay? A lot of us from Take This actually do a lot of work at home, and we all have very carved out corners that is for Take This work. It's a nice way of acclimating us to, this is workspace? Okay, now I'm home. So, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those, make those changes. It's a wonderful thing. I can't emphasize exercise enough. I just can't, because it actually ends up boosting certain wonderful neurotransmitters that fight depression and anxiety. I won't go into the specifics of that, but when you get exercise, it actually is a natural antidepressant and anti-anxiety, which is why Pokemon Go has been so awesome. Okay, I can't tell you how many tweets I've seen of people who are saying, "Oh my God, my kid is actually going outside. My agoraphobia is being helped by this. I'm socializing with people. My autistic son is talking." This is an awesome thing. So, go make exercise a routine part of your day. Go catch Pokemon. Go for a walk. Find an accountability buddy that will go work out with you. South Park fans, I take it. Great episode. Twisted term. Poor Butters. Poor Butters. Is it wrong that I kind of identify with Butters? I'd get into trouble and not know why.
Did you get grounded a lot?
No, but a lot of socially awkward situations that I was put into because I didn't recognize what was going on.
Pretending to be one of the girls at a slumber party, maybe?
Oh, I was forced to. Musical theater will do that. I like horrible in a dress. Eat foods that contain actual nutrients, okay? If it's green, and I'm not just talking about, the guacamole flavored chips, okay? If it's green and leafy, it probably has nutrients in it. If it grew in the ground, it probably had nutrients in it, at least at one point. Even if it mooed, it has some nutrients in it. Leafy is generally better. So eat foods that actually contain nutrients. I know a lot of companies provide food for you while you're at work. Most of that is crap, all right? Yeah, I mean, donuts are great. Donuts are tasty. I want a donut now. I really do. I want a maple bacon donut from Voodoo in Portland now.
Oh, Jesus.
Man, so but eat like vegetables. Vegetable sticks are easy to make. You can't overcook raw vegetable sticks. Even if you can't cook, you can make raw vegetable sticks. Celery, but you can put hummus on it. Baba ganoush is good. Just eat foods that have nutrients. Also sleep. Please giggle if you do not regularly get 6 hours of sleep a night. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. You would be in the nearly 40% of US adults that don't get that. You need that. You absolutely need that, all right? You will not think as clearly if you don't sleep. You are at a higher risk of stroke and heart disease if you do not sleep. Sleep is necessary, sleep is restorative. Yeah, so there's health risks. Talked about that. Oh yeah, caffeine. Oh, blessed coffee. Oh, blessed coffee that got me through grad school. It has what are called rebound effects. And what that means is you get used to it, you start to tolerate it, And eventually, when you stop drinking it habitually, you're actually more tired than you would be if you didn't drink it at all. That's the rebound effect. The human tolerance for caffeine is actually really impressive. I had one professor who, this is not hyperbole, actually was drinking 3 pots a day by the end of grad school. Yeah, I asked him about coming off of that. He said he had to do it slowly. I think the headache would have killed him. How do you improve your sleep? Make it a routine. Go to bed at the same time every night. Get up at the same time every day, even if it's a weekend. I know that's brutal. I know going out at drink 30 is fun. You can do that occasionally, but don't make it a habit because it will throw your sleep routine off. If you do, I'm probably talking, this is a losing battle in all honesty. Nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol. Anybody who works in a game studio is probably just like, just hook that up, just hook that up. But if you can avoid that at close to bedtime, it's gonna help you out a lot, because all of those are gonna throw your sleep cycles off. Keep your sleeping area between 60 and 67 degrees. I'm sorry, sweetie, but can we please, there's the battle at home of she's always cold, I'm always sweating. There's research behind it now. Get a good mattress. Get the best one you can afford. You spend a third of your life on the mattress, so that's a frightening number, huh? Frightening when you think about it. By the time you're 30, you spent 10 years asleep. Practice a relaxing ritual before you go to bed. Some people meditate. Anybody here use Headspace? Great app if you haven't used. I know you do. I listen to it every night. It's a great app, and I actually contemplated coming up with. It's a mindfulness app for iOS and Android that is done by this wonderful former monk who's got a lovely, soothing British voice. And yeah, it's probably the best one I've run into. There are lots of others out there, but this one is absolutely wonderful. 10-minute increments. I love that one. Avoid afternoon naps.
Ooh.
You shush. Avoid afternoon naps. Those can throw your sleep schedule off. I actually try not to nap at all because I will not sleep that night until like 3 a.m. Exercise. Oh, I did this one last night. Oh, I hadn't exercised in like 4 days. I was feeling terrible, and so I went and worked out at 10 p.m. That was a bad choice. I did not sleep. This is a big one. Sleep should be, your bed should be for 2 things: sleep and sex. That's it. And if you train yourself if you're not tired, go to a different dimly lit room. There's a behavioral training that goes on there. If you're in bed and you're anxious, don't stay there, okay? We don't want to associate the bed with anything but sleep and sex. That's it. Oh my God, yes. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna duck before so recreational screen time should be limited to 2 hours or less per day. I violate that one, but what that's associated with is it's associated with higher levels of a lot of different mental illnesses, impairments of mood, impairments of attention. Now, we don't know what causes what, we just know they're associated, so there's my caveat. Correlation's a wonderful thing. We don't know why it's there, but it's technically there. I mean, if you're Pastafarian, you know that global warming is correlated with a decline in traditional English pirates over the last 150 years, and that's true. We don't know why they're related. We don't know really if there's a causal relationship, but we know they're related. As one has gone down, one has gone up. But yeah, you want to limit, you really do. This is generally more for teenagers, or parents of teenagers. Teenagers hate me for that one. But this is another thing. Backlit screens, light spectrum closer to the blue end of it, like fluorescent lights, backlit screens, they mess with your circadian rhythm, okay, your sleep-wake cycle. So it's actually, there's been a lot of research in the last couple of years that have shown that reading iPads, and I'm guilty of this, in bed really messes with your sleep and your restorative functions. People are less awake the next day when they do that, as opposed to getting a old school incandescent tungsten light, because that's at the redder end of the spectrum, and a book. Or an e-ink Kindle, because it's not backlit. Okay, that backlighting is the important part. It delays the onset of sleep, it decreases your alertness the next day, and it reduces your sleepiness, and it lowers your melatonin secretion. Melatonin in your brain is linked to light levels. Light goes down, melatonin goes up. That's why I sleep so well when I camp. No, seriously, I never sleep so well as when I camp. Let's talk about therapy. Therapy's awesome. I actually think everybody should do therapy. This is one of my favorite quotes by one of my favorite psych authors. Therapy is way too good to be limited to the people, to the sick, all right? We've done a great job over the last 150 years of really stigmatizing therapy. It's not what most people think. I can't tell you how many people come into my office and they sit down and I just talk to them. I ask them pointed questions, but I talk to them. It's not like I go in there with a big strap-on Freudian beard and a latex cap and, yes, so tell me about your mother. Yeah, you was breastfed too long. I actually did that once. I got in a lot of trouble. Don't do that to the prison guards. Especially when their mom just died. Oh, don't do that. Oh, that was a bad day. Therapy is beneficial for more than just mental illness. Over the last couple decades, people like Martin Seligman, who's the former president of the APA, have done a great job of starting to research how do we get people past baseline. Like, when people always come to us when this is their baseline and they go down, but what do we do when we get them back to the baseline? Over the last 30 years or so, we've really researched how to get them up. And there are actually colleagues of mine whose whole business is doing therapy as CEOs. That's it. I mean, the CEOs, because it's lonely at the top. They've got no one to legitimately bounce ideas off of who's going to call them on their crap. And so they come in, they find a therapist who they just want some help working some stuff out, and it's great. Usually it's cash only, no records. It's awesome. I may have done it once or twice. It's great. No credit cards, no records. A little envious of my friends who that's their whole business. IRS doesn't know a thing about what they do. I have a lot of patients who are actually I'm on call for them. Like, they call me every couple of months when they get overwhelmed and they just want to work something out. They don't have a mental illness. They hate that they can't build their insurance, but whatever. They just come because they need some help working stuff out, and a therapist is actually better at that than your friends. There's research behind that one. Ironically done by Consumer Reports. It wasn't a review of shrinks, it was legit research. But they found that it actually worked. So positive psychology, that's what I just referred to about getting people past baseline. It's not hippie woo-woo crap. It's just great stuff. Look up Martin Seligman or Positive Psychology. He writes great books, as does some other authors, one of whom I can never pronounce his name. It's Eastern European and full of consonants. It's terrible. So when it comes to mental illness, the research really does show that therapy is better. It's more effective than just talking to your friends. Your friends are wonderful. Everybody should have them. I highly recommend it. But we're trained. And also your friends will often make it about them when it really should be about you. If you do seek a therapist, the relationship's the most important factor, okay? Technique matters a lot less than the relationship. If you don't trust the person, you're not going to open up to them. That's ultimately what it comes down to. I recommend when people are looking for a therapist, call a couple that meet your criteria. They search on Psychology Today, and the one you click the best with, go to that one. You're gonna get the most help out of that one. So let's talk about helping those who might need it. We want to give hope. We want to we want people to know that they're not alone. Okay? And we want to validate and help people normalize people's experiences, which is really what all of the things I'm about to talk about, that's what they do. All right? Signs someone's in distress. Well, basically, all of these things, they're behavior changes. Okay? You're looking for not normal behavior from a person, and everybody's behavior is a little bit different. Some people are just introverted. Okay. If an introvert is suddenly talking to everyone they meet, pay attention to that. Okay? That's a pretty extreme change in routine. Also a pretty extreme change in their mood, change in their social network. I'm already thinking this person's got mania. Bad news. Trouble concentrating, sudden emotional shifts. Yeah, this is probably pretty intuitive to most of you, but just look for those changes in behavior. Okay? So here's where I give you the concrete tips. If you want to reach out to somebody, put on the 4 Tops. No Motown fans, all right. Fair enough. That song's only 53 years old. So, ask them permission. This is actually a really nasty trick I teach the teenagers I work with. May I make a comment, Mom? May I make an observation, Dad? Once they've given you permission, and 9 out of 10 times they do, you got free reign. You can't say that. You told me I could. It's one of the Jedi mind tricks I teach my teenagers. It's awesome. I totally teach them how to be manipulative. Ask open-ended questions. Who, what, where, when, and how. Avoid why. Okay? Why do we avoid why? What do you think? Suzanne, why didn't you get the email back to me?
It sounds like it's blaming someone.
It makes people defensive. Why tends to make people defensive. Why can be very judgmental. So if you ask a question, so Suzanne, what was going on that you couldn't get that email back to me?
Lazy.
Okay. She can answer however she wants. And when you reach out to someone, you want to find something to validate. Always. Always, 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 always. And there is always something there. Even if it's their perceptions, there's always something to validate. This is one of the hardest things about it to do. It can be really hard for people just to be told, well, you're just wrong, period, end of story. Okay, well, no, it makes sense how you came to that conclusion. And when we add some more details to that, find something to validate. Maybe they put in a lot of effort. Maybe they are busy. I know someone who might not get back to me because she's planning a wedding, perhaps. That's a pretty good reason not to get back to me on a really trivial matter. I don't even know what I'm talking about. You get back. I'm the one who doesn't get back to people. Show empathy. And I don't mean sympathy. There is a difference. Sympathy is pity. Empathy is understanding. That is the basic difference, all right? Empathy is showing you understand their perspective. One of the biggest pushbacks I get on this is empathy does not mean you condone it, okay? I mentioned jokingly that I used to work in a prison, but this is something that a lot of the custody officers there, they hate being called guards, would get perplexed about. How do you empathize? Because it's like you're giving them permission to commit crime. Like, no, I'm just showing understand. Okay, you were sexually molested how many times as a kid? Okay, you have limited coping mechanisms. Duh. You still committed a crime, what do we do with that? Understanding is not the same as giving permission, but show understanding. Don't just say you understand, show it by describing their perspective, okay? If you find yourself about to say, well, I get where you're coming from, so don't do that. Don't do that unless you continue that statement with what their perspective is, okay? This is a big one. If you're trying to help somebody and you're feeling confused and distressed, they are, but more, all right? This is often a great entry point for empathy. If you are feeling distressed and confused about what their problem is, say it. This is kind of a canned line in my office that, boy, I'm feeling really confused and distressed. Well, not like that, that's mechanistic, but boy, I don't know where to go with this. I'm guessing that you're even more confused than I am. Yes, thank you. It's this big revelatory moment because I'm reflecting their experiences in a way that other people haven't. Empathy is so huge. I cannot stress empathy enough. Also, address only their behavior. And what I mean by that is what they say and what they do. If you stick to only what they say and they do without judgmental language, then that's going to make it a lot easier, because people will get defensive if you use judgmental adjectives. Bad, good. When you came in late to work the other day, I noticed it was the third time you came in late this week. That's factual. That's behavior. There's no judgment there. They either did or they didn't. So when you reach out to someone, I noticed that you haven't been socializing with your friends as much lately. I noticed that you don't return my phone calls. Help me understand that. No blame. Okay? And when you start with that kind of, that's often my opening line, by the way. Usually people are willing to fill that in. But we're only talking about behavior, what they say and what they do. That's really tricky, because often you want to get in there, you want to win, you want to prove something. Don't do that either. Don't argue. Don't argue. This is usually where I do actually a demonstration, a Tai Chi demonstration, but we're running low on time. Yeah, somebody tries to push me over. It's funny. Because the whole demonstration is me. I don't resist it. I'm just like, all right, cool. It's going right past me. If you don't argue with people, it's not strength versus strength, because the strongest person's gonna win. If you just kind of relent to it and accept what they say as fact as they see it, then there's gonna be less pushback. It's like improv. You do yes and, not no but. Okay, you don't argue with the premise. Yeah, don't argue with the truth, validate, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I said all that. Okay. Okay, so I told you what to do, now let me tell you what not to do. Don't do this. It gets better. Slap. Oh, you just you'll be okay in the end. Slap. You know, you just need to be good to yourself. Really, guys, I haven't tried that one already. Avoid cliches, all right? Nothing will make a depressed person feel worse than cliches. Especially, I just don't understand why you can't fix this. God. That'll actually spiral them down. So avoid cliches. You want to, this sends a dismissive message. Also, don't try and friggin' solve their problems. More often than not, they just want someone to listen, okay? If you try and just immediately solve their problems, it's dismissive. I actually wrote about this in my latest Geek and Sundry article. It's not just mustard. Our executive director has a wife who is like the queen of problem solving. And like you guys know the inner seals on mustard containers and how hard they are to get off, especially with the outer wrappers. She can do it in seconds, both of them, just like done. So one day he was trying to figure this out, how she does that. She's the queen of problem solving. She sees him struggling with this, and so she's like, done. She just took away his learning opportunity. For the best of reasons, she took that away from him because she thought she was trying to solve his problem. Don't do that. Listen, understand. If they want the problem solved, great, that will become apparent. So just go in with the attitude of trying to understand and not, fix. All right? Oh, I talked about the mustard. Okay. That's awesome. But also, give people the gift of their own struggles. All right? If you try and fix it, you are not helping them grow as a person. I really mean that. Struggling through something on your own, maybe with a little assistance, that is a gift. Give that to them. All right? Yeah, there's another thing about OJ. Find the meaning. The meaning is always the important part. Our executive director is full of great stories. One of them was one day he wanted to make some orange juice from the frozen concentrate can. The dishes needed to be done because the pitcher was all the way at the bottom. So he does the dishes. All right, half an hour. Goes to the freezer. There's no freaking OJ. He forgot. So he has to drive to the store now to get the OJ. He gets back after being stuck in rush hour traffic with an accident, and he still hasn't eaten, and he's all grumbly. All his wife sees is he's mad that he didn't get the OJ. No, he's been trying for 3 hours to make his orange juice. That's the meaning. That's why meaning is so important. So you want to find the meaning. Don't just look immediately at the problem. And again, show you understand. Don't just say, I get it. Oh, I've been there. I know how you feel. I want to punch people who say, I know how you feel, and end it there. Okay? Show it. Describe what they're feeling. They'll correct you if you're wrong. But at least, and yeah, don't use judgmental language. Okay. This is one of the rules is give people something to take home. And this is one of the things you're going to take home, aside from those monumental lists. SCEP. This is a wonderful technique for resolving problematic situations or when you are trying to understand something, okay? Summarize their perspective, what you think their perspective is, okay? And once you are done summarizing what you think their perspective is, check your understanding. Let them correct you. You're showing good effort by saying, okay, so this is what you're telling me. So Suzanne, you're telling me that, well, basically, you had a busy week this week. You had to book your venue. You had to book a bunch of other things for your wedding. And so I was kind of a low priority on your list. Is that accurate?
Fair enough.
Okay, this is where we empathize. Well, that makes sense. That makes total sense. Even if you can just validate their perspective, I mean, they're thinking, that's logical, right? I'm the low person on that priority list because her wedding is a higher priority. Duh. Okay, well, that makes sense. I got married last year, that was a process, that was a production. She wants, look at that. I said one word, it wasn't strong enough. She wants to give me more information. If you are following this, you're gonna get more information from them, okay? They are going to give you so many credits just for trying, all right? But you wanna find something in which to empathize. Yes, weddings are a production. Production, she wants to give me more. Then you proceed with what you need to say without using the word but. Use the word and. Don't use the word but because it negates everything that was said to this point. Okay, you've been working hard. I'm the low person on the priority list because you're working on your wedding and you love your fiance. What's that all about? But that makes absolute sense. But suddenly none of that matters. Okay, and at the same time, I really do need that email that doesn't matter. No, I don't. No, I don't. And then she has the opportunity to give me, her perspective on things as well. This generally works. I mean, there's obviously situations in which this won't work, like if someone has an extremely goal-oriented behavior, like, I don't know, if they're robbing me. So what you're saying is that you would like my wallet right now, and I just want to make sure I understand that so I can get shot. That happened to me once. I'm like, okay, here you go. Have a good day, sir. You had a bad day later because the subway I got robbed at was the cops' subway. They were not happy. But then you proceed with what you need to say. So that's, this is really, I want you guys to remember that, SCEP. But I also want you to remember, everybody has stress reactions, okay? That's normal. Mental illness is not the same thing as stress. Sadness is not the same thing as depression. Anxiousness is not the same thing as an anxiety disorder, all right? Though mental illness is still pretty common. We don't need to judge those who have it because it sucks already. Crunch can be problematic. You want to change that. You're going to need to take steps to manage your own mental health because sometimes you're the only person who can. Do your best. Have compassion and empathy for others because everybody is trying their absolute best in life. That is so true. Everybody believes they are doing the best job they can, and they really are in all likelihood, unless they're a sociopath. Those people are scary. Oof. Worked with them. And remember, SCEP. Summarize, check, empathize, proceed. It's a great thing to remember. It's been useful. I can't tell you how many people have said, oh, Dr. Lee, that's really useful. I'm like, I know. That's why I told you. So if you want more information on any of this, you can follow us at Take This. We actually put out a lot of educational articles, some of them written by me, some of them not. We have about 200 clinicians right now. Many of them want to contribute more educational material. You can also follow us on Twitter at TakeThis.org. I want to say an additional something about the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's not just about suicide, okay? It's a terribly misleading name. If you know someone who is having a mental health crisis, first of all, if it's life-threatening, call 911, okay? Even if you suspect it's life-threatening, call 911. But if it's a non-life-threatening crisis and you don't know what to do, call these guys. This is a great resource. They don't just do suicide, they do all sorts of mental illness, and they will try and find you some local resources. So when it comes to this stuff, just remember, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. All right, questions? Yes?
Random question. Okay, let's say you're dealing with mental illness and you're working, but you feel like you need some time off work. What
Okay.
is like a kind of way to go about addressing that with your boss or whoever you need to talk to?
HR.
What do you say?
HR. Because mental illnesses, if you have a diagnosed mental illness, in many cases they're offered the same protections as a physical disability under the ADA. And so, yeah, if you've got that, talk to HR. Yeah, it's a short version.
I think I asked that because I've dealt with like people, and even myself when I've had it, where it's like, it's one of those things where it's like embarrassing almost to say, hey, I'm struggling with personal issues, or.
Hopefully, so I'm gonna try and couch this as best I can, because for both legal and ethical reasons, I can't really give specific answers to specific questions because I don't know all the details. If I give you bad advice, you go and be like, hey boss, I've got a mental illness, and hey mom, hey dad, I'm gay. Yeah, it's gonna come back on me. I don't know what the environment of your company is like. I don't know how respectful they are of things like this. And I know it's a difficult thing to bring up. At the same time, HR is required by law to offer some, I don't know the specifics of those protections, a very, very cursory understanding of it because I'm not a lawyer. There are lawyers in the room though. But talk to HR if you have any concerns. They would probably have more company-specific information for you to go about addressing that sort of stuff. But also, find a therapist. If that's something you're struggling with, find a therapist. Psychologytoday.com, probably the best search engine for therapists, all right? It's certainly the most intuitive one. The American Psychological Association looks like it's a website written by shrinks, because it is. I can't find myself on that website. Oh, they have better certifications. Yeah, it's also buried under 5 layers. Psychology Today, click. All right, done. So yeah, your HR department should have more company-specific information on how you can go about that. Good question. Anybody else? Yes.
Do you have any like tips or tools or websites or anything that you know of that would help with like distractibility at work?
You want to be distracted more?
No.
Okay, actually,
Plenty of
there's
it.
a woman I met at E3. She has a great YouTube channel, How to ADHD. She has whether you have ADHD or not, there's a lot of really great tips on her channel for how to focus. And when you watch her first video, you'll understand why she has a channel on how to ADHD. Very bubbly. That would be the diplomatic way of putting it. Actually, she's really wonderful. I've enjoyed my limited interactions with her. But yeah, that's a really great one. I use Habitica. Habitica has been awesome for my productivity. And again, my character's level 22 now.
I downloaded it last night.
Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great. Check out the Take This challenges. We're actually doing one a month on there.
Okay.
I think there's actually going to be one about distractibility coming up in somewhere in the next 6 months. I don't know the order. But how to ADHD is great. To-do lists are great. Rewarding yourself when you get little tasks done. Writing tasks out very specifically so they don't, and even in their components, so it's not this big conglomerate of, I have to clean the kitchen. Oh crap, what does that mean? Okay, well I need to clean the dishes, put them away, I need to wipe the counters down, I need to close all the cabinets, sorry sweetie, and the dishwasher, sorry sweetie again. I don't have personal experience with this one at all. But yeah, there's to-do lists are a great thing to do. I'm a big fan of accountability buddies. Someone who will just check in with you throughout the day and say, hey, did you do that thing you told me you were gonna do? Ooh, okay. Because people who actually have attentional problems, they get better results through more constant reinforcement and through more constant feedback. Yeah. Any others? Yes.
How do you balance being a good accountability buddy and checking in versus potentially making that person feel like you're just nagging them?
Okay, great. Oh, I love that one. If there is conflict between your style of checking in with them and their reaction, just have a conversation. Ask those open-ended questions. Ask for clarification. What is it about what I'm doing? My understanding is I'm doing what you want. Clearly, that's creating some tension. What is it about how I'm doing this that is bringing you so much tension? Look at that lack of judgmental language. You're being a bitch. No, wait, what? No, what is it about, specifically about my behavior, that is causing you distress? How can I change that? I'm doing my understanding of what you wanted me to do. If I'm misunderstanding that, let's figure that out. See, it's all about behavior. All about, we want to talk only about the behaviors, and keeping it open-ended questions about those behaviors. So I actually ran into that one not too long ago with a client of mine. They got mad at their parents for checking in with them because of just how they told them to. We had to work that one out. So that's a good one. I love that. Any others? Cool. Awesome. Yeah, if you've got any other questions, you can follow Take This on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at DrB_Seattle. I'm putting out a lot of the stuff from Take This as well as other stuff. You can get in touch with us. We're not hard to find. And hopefully we'll see you at some conventions. All right, thanks everybody.